Alright, so before I get into reading older IMDb reviews regarding Lucio Fulci's 1977 feature, The Psychic, I noted some quite interesting information on the Wikipedia, which is useful, I feel, to understand this film, where it's coming from, where it fits in Lucio Fulci's oeuvre. Decided I'm going to read it out here. Sette notte in nero, my Italian pronunciation is not perfect, excuse that, is that people were getting on me for mispronouncing Lyra, I'm probably mispronouncing it still. Whatever. Is the fourth Giallo film to have been helmed by Fulci, following one on top of the other, A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, and Don't Torture a Duckling. Hey, at least I would say, my Italian pronunciation is better than my French pronunciation, which is kind of dismal most of the time. Fulci's Gialli have been cited as being a far cry from his later excessive gross-out horrors, showing that the director was able to put his finger on the free sexuality that permeated the culture at the time and the repercussions that came along with it. The film, along with the rest of Fulci's oeuvre, has been described as progressing as if the characters are trapped in some awful illogical dream from which there is no escape. Just an aside for myself here, I find it really intriguing how, if this is indeed the case, and Fulci's films are exploring some sort of danger that began swelling post the sexual revolution, post the introduction of contraceptives into the developed world. Like the kind of omnipresent fear of sexual danger or psychopathology related to sexuality. Fulci's films have been noted for a certain disdain he feels toward the Catholic Church, and it's almost as though he, in some ways, agrees with the Catholic Church's beliefs about the ills of human sexuality, and yet he appears to go one step further by accusing the church of enabling plus being hypocritical in regards to this. We can observe potentially conspiracy of torture as one of the more overt examples of this, of course, as well as Don't Torture a Duckling. Anyway, I'm digressing, hopefully not without relevance though, but let me continue in any case, the Wikipedia passage. The film's title has been noted as one of many Giallo titles using either numbers or animal references, having been directly compared to Sette Schiali di Seta Gialla, which in English translates to Shawls of Yellow Silk. And I ought to mention that this film's alternate title is Seven Notes in Black, or whatever, Murder to the Tune of the Seven Black Notes, because you're probably thinking, where's the animal or numerical reference in The Psychic? Well, it was released in the United States as The Psychic because I guess they felt as though Murder to the Tune of Seven Black Notes or Seven Notes in Black, whichever, a bit of a mouthful. And also, hey, like putting a poster together, it cuts cost having a shorter title, I would imagine. Curti stated that the film should more properly be considered as a female Gothic, with a film updated to contemporary times and blended mystery and the paranormal. In 1970s Italy, the paranormal was one of the country's most durable obsessions. This included Pierre Carpi's popular books about history of magic and Cagliostro, and a book of alleged prophecies of Pope John the 23rd. It's quite fascinating. That's our Vatican II Pope, for those of you who are not as aware. Paranormal themes were also explored in adult comics and television miniseries such as Il Segno del Comando and ESP, based on Dutch psychic Gerard Croiset. Filmmakers and screenwriters also delved into these themes, such as Riccardo Freda, Piero Rognoli, Demofilo Fedani, and Pupi Avati. Maybe it's worth mentioning here. I'm not going to read out all of this passage, but the information it's relaying to us is that Quentin Tarantino is a fan of this film, and it isn't just him trying to seem cool and hip in the internet age, because it was in the 1990s when Tarantino announced he wanted to remake this film at a time when there would not have been as much social cachet to game for claiming you're a fan of this film. It wasn't really until the social media era when that took place in full force, when it became very easy to just project a certain taste just because there was a certain currency in it on the digital marketplace. Even if the one's appreciation for the film was either superficial because of what it could do to them or non-existent. But anyway, I'm carrying on, and that might not be relevant. I'm going to now read aloud some of these IMDb reviews, maybe less than I initially intended to, because we've spent enough time here already. We don't want the screen caps to just be extended for minutes at a time necessarily. So I'm going to cut the number of reviews I'm going to read out. Excuse me a moment. Let me read out this. From the 31st of July 2005, Dr. Linera. Clever, slow, but increasingly gripping supernatural thriller from one of Italy's most underrated filmmakers. Lucio Fulci is best known for his surreal and graphically gory horror movies of the early 80s, i.e. Zombie, The Beyond, but some of his most interesting work was made before. This film, which deserves to be far better known, is a case in point. It's an extremely suspenseful thriller with borderline horror elements, a bit reminiscent of Don't Look Now, and quite possibly an influence on several films since, such as The Vanishing. Fans of Kill Bill recognize one of the pieces of music used. Yes, and like with Twisted Nerve, Tarantino took a piece of music from an older film and placed it in his Kill Bill work, and it became more popular to younger audiences, contemporary audiences. Opening with a graphic but very unconvincing, scene of a suicide off a cliff, the head bashing on the rocks. The film does not continue that way, but becomes a slow but intriguing supernatural mystery with the suspense gradually building, and Fulci showing himself quite capable of handling a relatively complex plot. Camera work, music, and Jennifer O'Neill's stunning performance are also good that the relative lack of actual action does not matter too much. Nevertheless, Fulci really proves himself with a really exciting and suspenseful scene near the end where O'Neill is pursued by the killer, and there is clever and evocative use of props throughout. Interestingly, where most Italian films like this are dubbed by different actors, this one looks like it was dubbed by most of the actual cast. Unfortunately, a couple of major plot revelations are hard to make out. However, this is a solid little thriller that, while not quite on the level of, say, Fulci's A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, really deserves to be seen if you think Fulci can only do gore. And I think I'll read out just one more. We're going to go and read aloud from Witchfinder General 666, or Witchfinder General 666, the 1st of September 2009. Brilliantly haunting Fulci Giallo, often nicknamed the Godfather of Gore, cult director Lucio Fulci is doubtlessly most famous for his gruesome zombie films. The man's greatest achievements, however, are, in my humble opinion, his comparatively goreless but spine-chilling and extremely elegant Gialli from the 70s. After the brilliant Don't Torture a Duckling 1972, which I would name as one of the top 5 Gialli of all time, it's a fair film to put in that list, sure. The Psychic, I'm just going to call it The Psychic. It's a mouthful to read out the other title. Of 1977 is a close second on my list of the greatest Fulci films, and it also ranks among the true greats of the Giallo genre in general. I'm going to move over the part where he reads out some of the plot. Go into this film as blind as possible, perhaps. The Psychic contains no sleaze and hardly any gore, but has an incredibly intriguing and suspenseful plot containing ingenious red herrings and unpredictable plot twists, and is filmed in an incredibly beautiful yet unspeakably creepy visual style. While the film includes little blood, sans the opening scene, frankly, and only very few gruesome scenes, the suspense level is extremely high and intense, and the mystery is maintained until the very end. The score is another insanely brilliant aspect. Seldom is a soundtrack as successful in building up tension. The biggest name in the cast is doubtlessly Gianni Garco, who is most famous as a star of many spaghetti westerns, including The Silver Saddle, which is the next film we'll be discussing, another Fulci picture. However, all cast members, many of them Italian horror regulars, fit greatly in their roles. Overall, I cannot come up with a single negative aspect about this film. Incredibly suspenseful, genuinely creepy, extremely elegant, looking like a wow, and simply brilliant in all regards. No lover of Italian horror can possibly afford to miss this tantalizing Giallo gem, which is yet another proof that Fulci was a horror genius. Absolutely. And we'll close it here, won't we? Nearly 10 minutes, wow. Looking like a